Members, good morning. There is a quorum. I call to order the meeting. In the 2026 legislative session, as at the previous meeting, we have approved 15 items with a total funding amount of $90,874 million. On the agenda today, there are 3 papers for discussion. All 3 have been rolled over from the previous meeting on the 29th of June. The total funding amount involved in the 3 proposals is $1,517,100,000. Subject to the approval of all funding proposals, that will bring the number of the accumulated amounts of items approved to 18, with a total funding amount of $92,391,100,000. Excluding the block funding amount of $22,747,700,000 for land acquisition and capitalization program, the total funding amount for works projects is $69,643,400,000. I remind members, if you have direct or indirect pecuniary interest concerning the items for discussion today, please disclose the nature of such interest before you speak according to Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure. I also bring to your attention Rule 84 of the Rules of Procedure concerning voting in matters in which you have direct pecuniary interest in. We now move on to item 4 on the agenda. That's 70 e.g. the University of Hong Kong transformation of KK Leung building into Research and Development Hub. Please refer to paper PWSC 2026-7, number 15. Those of you who would like to speak, please press the Request to Speak button now. The paper invites members to upgrade project 70 EG to Category A at an estimated cost of $194.1 million in money of the day prices. The administration has consulted the panel on Educational Affairs on the 5th of May. Members supported the administration to submit the proposal for this subcommittee's consideration. The salient points of the discussion of the panel has been sent to members via email on the 25th of June. Now the floor is now open. 8 members have pressed the button. They are Mr. Dennis Leung, Ray Wong, Moon Kit, Lam Chen Sing, Ken Wong, Ms. Christine Fong, Mr. Hong Kam-in, and Mr. Chen Hock-Fong. 4 minutes for each member. Questions and answers included. Mr. Dennis Leung. Thank you, Chairman. This proposal has been discussed in length in the meeting of the panel on Educational Affairs. Now, I've asked all the questions I needed to ask, so I support the project. However, in the past year, we have passed a regulation to ensure that contractors are paid. Now, there are some contracts signed between the contractors and the university under the protective clause. So would you consider adding this clause to the existing contracts to avoid arrears of ages or arrear of payments on the part of the main contractors? Will the University of Hong Kong or the administration consider adding this clause in the contract? Dr. Jeff C., Under-Secretary for Education. Good morning, Chairman and members. I thank Mr. Leung for his support. Now, concerning issue on payment, I would defer to the University of Hong Kong. Mr. Sunny Yang, Director of Estates, University of Hong Kong. Thank you. We understand the concern, so we are making efforts to ensure that there is security of payments. So as to ensure that all payments due to the subcontractors are paid on time. We will monitor the payments of each batch of payments. We have a department as well as a consultant to monitor the situation. I think the question is, besides the SOPL, the security of payments clause, during the project, how can we ensure that upon payments from the main contractor, that the subcontractors are paying their workers on time? We will handle each complaint seriously. Upon receipt of complaints, we would make an arrangement to meet the management of the contractors. Usually, we would be able to solve the issues ourselves. If not, we will enlist the help from the Labour Department. Next, Mr. Ray Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I support transforming the KK Leung building into a research and development hub. According to the return tender price, there is an 8% cost saving. So I applaud the university for its management of the budgets. Now, my question is in relation to the cooling infrastructure. Now, the research hub will be focused in advanced and frontier areas, including data science. Now, these infrastructure has a very strong demand for cooling facilities as well as power. Now, while running at full capacity, these frontier computers will eat up a lot of power. Now, in the proposal, there will be some upgrading to the infrastructure as well as the power network. However, given the rapid pace of developments of AI, do we have capacity to meet the need of research in the next 10 years? Now, in terms of cross-campus sharing of resources, the university would make reference to the experience in the UK to drive cross-disciplinary and cross-institutional researches. Now, there are research facilities for share in various campuses in Hong Kong. So in the 6,700 meters square of research floor space, would it be open for sharing with other research teams in other universities so as to maximize the utilization of public money? Dr. Jeff C. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Wong, for your support. Now, allow me to explain the power saving design in the proposal concerning the adequacy on computing power, energy saving, as well as whether the university will open its university for share. I will defer to the University of Hong Kong. The internal renovation project has included environmental saving features in its design. That includes using carbon-free as well as green materials, and also in terms of coolants for air conditioning, it will use high energy efficiency coolants. And there's also other control measures put in place. Now, there will be additional energy-saving features which can achieve an additional 10% energy saving to meet the government's requirements for the projects to break even in 12 years' time. The University of Hong Kong, Ms. Bella Fan, I thank the member for his questions. Now, the building is already 40 years old. So taking this opportunity, we would like to improve the capacity of power supply and air conditioning. Now, previously, we only had 2 transformers. Now, we will add 1 more to increase the capacity to 4,500 kilowatt hours. That's an upgrade. That's an increase in capacity of 1.5 times. Now, concerning air conditioning, due to depreciation and old design, it is not very energy efficient. Now, we would enhance the capacity to 900 to 1,000 tons. So we expect the research labs to consume more power, so we will seek to meet their needs. Now, in terms of maximizing the use of spaces, we have reserved 15% spaces for shared use. The users can be research staff or students. Now, on the ground floor of KK Leung building, we have created a shared space. There is a lecture room for hosting talks or exhibitions. So the research outcomes from upper floors can be shared with the public on the ground floor. Members, there are still 11 members waiting to speak. Besides this item, we still have 2 items on the agenda to scrutinize. I urge members to keep your question succinct, ideally within 1.5 minutes, and allow some time for the government officials and the representatives from the University of Hong Kong to reply. So let's try to keep it short. Mr. Moon Kit, thank you. We are concerned about the energy conservation features. Now, first thing first, I support the project. The paper says that highly efficient air conditioning units will be used to achieve a 15% energy saving each year. So comparing with the prevalent standard, is it more aggressive or conservative? Now, we understand that research labs will use a lot of energy. So has the government asked the University of Hong Kong to use the most advanced energy-saving technologies, for example, using residual heat. Now, to transform a 40-year-old building into a high-tech building housing frontier labs, there must be a lot of challenges in terms of infrastructure as well as data connectivity. Now, is the $194.1 million budget sufficient to overcome these challenges? Thank you. Dr. Jeff C. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Ng, for your support. In terms of energy saving, I will invite the University of Hong Kong to supplement concerning cost control. Indeed, we have been communicating closely with the University of Hong Kong. Now, compared with the initial proposal, which involved $200 million, the return to the price is lower than the estimate. it shows that the tender price is very competitive. I would defer to the HKU.
Ms. Bella Fan, Assistant Director of Estates, HKU, you mentioned a bit about the energy saving. Mr. Ng is concerned about the objective of energy saving. Is it sufficiently aggressive? Well, Chairman, in the campus planning, the HKU does have some cooling systems in place. So gradually, in each block on the rooftop, we have the air cooling system, and we have the water cooling features. So in terms of the energy saving, air cooling and water cooling, I think water cooling is far more efficient. We have this added feature to achieve a better energy efficiency. Will the administration and the HKU representative please stick to one single language? Please do not use cocktail language. Mr. Lam Chen Sing. Chairman, thank you. Right, with this research and development hub, there are 50 groups of different researchers and more than 1,000 postgraduate students using the facilities. Now, as I&T develops and as university education is developing, there are more non-local students being admitted. It will go up from 40% to 50%, maybe even more going forward. And we have to tie in with the innovation and technology development and the UGC funded places and research programs would put a lot of emphasis on I&T, and there will be more courses available, and there will be more researchers coming on stream. Now, with this refurbishment and expansion, will there be sufficient capacity to cater for the demand? Have you worked out over the horizon of the next 10, 20 years, so you have sufficient capacity to cater for the researchers, and there is no need for further funding, for further expansion? That's question number one. Second, about the configuration, there are lots of supplementary spaces. Now, what are the purposes of the supporting space? Is that intended for the researchers or the postgraduate students? Now, for laboratories and research space, would these supporting space be somehow converted into labs for use? Is there going to be any backup plan to make sure that this project will be able to meet the demand? Dr. Z. Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Lam, for the questions. As regards the project, I'm sure it is doubtless that we need to provide more lab space for the university. As the member said, the number of students is increasing, and there is a greater and greater demand for research space. Now, after communication with HKU, we understand that at the main campus there is need for the labs to be provided in order to meet the demand for learning and teaching. There are a lot of problems with regard to space. And as to whether this would be sufficient, we have to work hard on that. And with the development of postgraduate education, we are moving towards an international hub, and we are expanding the capacity gradually. Now, in future, there is the university town in the northern metropolis, and even for the school at university campus right now, we have to communicate with the universities about the need. As regards the supporting space, I defer to the HKU. Mr. Sandy Young. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the Undersecretary made a point. I'd like to add that there is an urgent need. Now, as to whether this is enough, there is never enough, and we are admitting students and we are evolving with times, and our facilities will be tying in with this development. Now, for the space, it is multifunctional, and through the student admission and in response to the needs, that we will make the changes accordingly. All I can say is that we try to minimize the future conversion in our attempt to meet the demand. Thank you. All right, there are 10 members yet to speak. And I'm going to join a line after Ms. Christine Fong has spoken. And after Mr. Ken Wong, draw a line there. So for those who wish to speak, please press the button to do so. Mr. Ken Wong, please. Chairman, thank you. I am in support of the proposal to transform the KK Leung building into an R&D hub. We have had a fair amount of discussion at the education panel in terms of the functions, the purposes, and this is something that should be undertaken. There will be more labs, more facilities, and more space for HKU, for Hong Kong to develop into an international I&T hub, and also the integration of the industry, academia, and research sectors, and also the 15 5-year plan. Now, I've got a question about the implementation. In paragraph 4 of the paper, it mentions that the project will be taken forward in phases. It will be completed in 2 years. Now, the KK Leung building, it is at the center of the campus. There are a number of teaching blocks and library, and the flow of people is really particularly high. Now, in terms of the building renovation, maintenance and repair, we are very concerned. The scaffolding, the nets, the means of escape, and so on. Now, these are presenting fire risk, and we are particularly concerned. Now, in this project, what about the oversight mechanism? How are you going to be monitoring the development there? Undersecretary, I defer to HKU. HKU? Mr. Young, if I may address the question about safety first. We do have our own on-site safety officers. They are registered. They are accredited people who will be planning the safety measures and coming up with a set of measures. The contractors will have to work in accordance with our requirements. As to scaffolding, there would be very little in the way of scaffolding because that doesn't involve much in the way of facade renovation, so there will be not be a lot of scaffolding and netting. And in the course of work, it will take place during the time the students are not attending classes. I defer to my colleague Bella for supplement. Ms. Fan, no supplement? No? Okay, next. Ms. Christine Fong. Chairman, thank you. Regarding this transformation of KK Leung building into an R&D hub, now this is $194 million. I'm in support of that. The HKU is one of the excellent universities in Hong Kong. The block has been there for 40 years. The Bureau mentioned the water cooling system and the ramping up of the electricity system. And we have the computing science. Are you going to be increasing the system in such a way that the system will be going on for a long time? What is the lifespan of this upgraded system? Now we have the new engineering contract, NEC. Now if this project may be a new project, have you adopted the system whereby you will be sharing the profit and the losses in order to speed up the progress? Members have drawn a line there, and if I'd like to invite Mr. or Dr. Z. If I may take the other question first, for the NEC, the HKU has consulted the consultant team and get to grips with the new engineering contract, and they're adopting the traditional contract mode. That's because in 2024, a tender had been issued in accordance with the traditional method. And this is proceeding on the basis of the 2024 framework in order not to increase the uncertainty about the return tender price. The HKU has decided to adopt a traditional contract model. For new projects, the university is only too happy to explore the possibility of adopting NEC in order to minimize risks and also heighten the cost effectiveness. As to the data, how long will it last for? I defer to the university. Mr. Young? Chairman, if I may supplement on the second question first. Ms. Fong, we share the same concern. There are 10 staff members that are NEC4 capable, and we are really attaching a lot of importance to the NEC model, although we are using the traditional contract now. Now there is a project that is using the NEC4 at the present moment. As regards the optic fiber, we don't have an answer today. However, we are prepared to supplement further information around optic fibers. Yes, can you supplement the information in writing, please? Mr. Hong Kam Yin? Chairman, thank you. The HKU is using or utilizing its own land and space to develop the R&D hub. I do appreciate that. I'm in support of this proposal. So I support the transformation of KK Leung building into an R&D hub. I've got two questions, if I may, here. The project involves some project costs. Are you going to introduce some high-end lab facilities, and where you're going to be getting the funding from? Or are you going to be raising funding from outside, or what? Second, there will be more space after the project, and going forward, you're going to be renovating the space. Where is the funding going to come from? Dr. Z? Thank you, Mr. Hong, for your support for the project. Now, regarding the project, upon completion, the facilities in the labs and all the rest of the arrangement, we have the regular funding for the university. The UGC does provide the funding. Well, it all depends on what facilities they are. we do have a formula. We do have an established mechanism to work out the funding earmarked for the universities. In the long run, though, on a triennial basis, the UGC and the universities have an accounting agreement, and we will certainly have regard to the formula there.
有冇跟進？
Any follow-up question? What about the utilization of the supporting space and also the space freed up after the transformation? We will utilize the space fully. Now for the business school, after the completion of the new building on Porkfield Road campus, the Faculty of Business and Economics will be relocated there. So besides the research labs, there will be shared space in the building as well. We will be sure to utilize this fully. Mr. Chen Hock-Fung, I declare interest. I am a member of the HKU's board. Now, the project does not involve building a new building block, but rather it is a renovation and transformation of the building. So why is it the case that it is the Education Bureau footing the bill rather than the HKU? University of Hong Kong has a large amount of financial reserve. Why does the Education Bureau have to pay for the project? Now, there will be infrastructure including the computing system and other infrastructure. So will the noise generated become a nuisance to the nearby residents? Now, these may be very high frequency noises. So how will these nuisances be monitored? After all, the building block is very close to residential areas. Now, the Faculty of Business and Economics will be moved to Porkfield Road, so it is somewhere between the MTR station and the campus. It's not a very accessible place. So how will you manage the pedestrian flow? What will you do with the existing escalator leading to the campus? Undersecretary, I thank Mr. Chan for the support he gave us. Now, concerning the government's support for university projects, $16 billion have been set aside in the 2019 to 20 budget for renovation of campuses of universities under the UGC, in particular upgrading the laboratories so that research staff and students can conduct research activities in a suitable space. True, the University of Hong Kong has its own financial reserves. However, according to the standard of research space university, the HKU has a shortfall of 30%. Meanwhile, we are pursuing I&T development, so the government support is necessary. So as mentioned by our colleagues, we would like to have member support today. Mr. Young. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chan, for your questions. Now, the KK Leung building is actually quite far away from the residential blocks. The nearest one is the one on Yok Wall Road. And also, the residential areas in Bonham Road and Porkfield Road are quite far away. And also, for student campuses, they are 100 yards away from the KK Leung building. So in terms of noise, we have already sought advice from our consultants. Now, concerning Porkfield the Portfield campus. On Portfield Road, there is a hillside escalator taking pedestrians to Portfield Road. The Town Planning Board and other government departments have already given approval to our plans. We have already entered the preparation stage for the project. Mr. Jonathan Lamport. Thank you. The business sector supports the transformation of the KK Leung building into a research lab. Now, to forge Hong Kong into an international R&D center, it is necessary to provide sufficient research space for research in universities. So my questions are the following. Concerning the transitioning, now it seems that there will be some gap. Now the project will take 2 years' time. However, the Faculty of Business and Economics will only be relocated to the Portfield campus in 2028. Now, since the faculty will only be moved away in 2 years' time, can the renovation project start in earnest in the interim? If there is a delay, will it cause a domino effect to the remaining parts of the renovation project? So are there any mechanisms to ensure timely delivery of the project? About the old floor design, now to save the $10 million construction cost, the Hong Kong U will keep some of the rooms in the blocks intact. Now the KK Leung building was built in 1988. Now, despite the HKU's efforts to save cost, modern research activities required immense flexibility in spatial design. Now, if we are keeping the old room layout, it may hinder the research progress as well as the ambience of exchanges between talents. Thank you. The renovation project will be separated into 3 phases. That is the same case for the Portfield campus project. It has already started in earnest. Now, after the completion of phase 1 of Portfield campus, the existing teaching staff and students will be moved to the Portfield campus, and then the KK Leung building's transformation project will start. Now, the phase 1 project of Portfield campus will be completed in the middle of 2028, while phase 3 of KK Leung building will start in the 3rd quarter of 2028. Now, concerning keeping the existing floor design, I will defer to the HKU. Mr. Sunny Young. Thank you. Now, as the Undersecretary said just now, besides staggered delivery of the 2 projects, there will also be staggered commissioning of the 2 projects. We are optimistic about the progress of both projects. Now, concerning keeping the old floor layout, if you refer to our floor plan, there is a large area for shared users. So that's how we'll provide flexibility for the users. Mr. Tommy Jung, thank you. Mr. Jonathan Lamport has asked my question in relation to work timetable. I would like to follow up on Mr. Chen Hao-feng's question on noise. Yes, the building is far away from the residential areas. However, there are 2 other buildings nearby. That's the Nose building and another building. So is there any mechanism to reduce the noise nuisance to the students in the Chongyu Main Center? Under Secretary, thank you. I will defer to the HKU. Mr. Sunny Young from the HKU. Thank you. Now, all the works involved in the KKLM building will be indoor. The only part of the project outdoor is the part involving the infrastructure. The remaining parts will all be indoor. We will keep monitoring the noise level to make adjustments to our work process. Thank you. Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chairman. To meet the immense future needs for research spaces, I support the project. This is necessary. 2 questions. According to the discussion of the panel on on education, the HKU mentioned that there will be 4 new faculties on data science and biological data. Now, with the transformation of the KKLM building, will the building be able to support the operation of the 4 new faculties? Or will they require more hardware support? Second, the transformed building will be mainly used for research activities conducted by the HKU itself, but will other research bodies be allowed to use some of the research facilities in the building? Will the HKU pursue collaboration with other research bodies? Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. I thank Mr. Chow for his support. After the meeting of the panel on education, we have provided some supplementary information to members. We have provided some replies to Mr. Holden Chow's question on the paper, so I would invite the HKU to summarize those replies. Mr. Cyrus Choi, Director of Strategic Planning Unit of the HKU. Thank you. Now, 5 interdisciplinary faculties have been established in the past 2 years. Now, with the transformation of the KKLM building, some facilities will be used by the faculties. In other words, the laboratories and the research facilities will be shared by the faculties. Of course, some of the needs cannot be met. For example, the biological science or biotechnology faculty requires additional laboratory, not available in the KKLM building, so those needs will be met by other means. And second, the Hong Kong U has been conducting joint research projects with other research bodies and other universities. So under the existing research model, we welcome collaboration with other professors to bring about more development. Follow-up question. Yes, it is good to have more collaborative research projects. So what will be the breakdown for the revenue or the income earned by those research outcomes? Under Secretary, Mr. Cyrus Choi, concerning revenue generated by research projects, it would be shared between the research team and the university. to meet the daily operating expenditure as well as maintenance expenditure.
Mr. Tang Fei, Chairman, thank you. I support the project of transforming KK Long Building into an R&D hub. However, I've got some questions. The contingency, it is about 9% compared with an overall scheme of things. I think this is about right, about 10%. Well, if we do need to use the contingency fee in the event of emergency situation, you're going to be coming back to the let's go with the details, and we have to be cautious and prudent in our spending. Second, paras 9 and 10, after the work, 15% of the space will be for learning space, and there will be also shared space. And this learning space and shared space for public education, what are they? The learning center, is it really also for the public use, or is it really exclusively for university use? If it is the latter, the facilities will be both for university use and also for public use. So there would be a lot of conflicts. How are you going to be rationalize the usage from these two sources? Right, Undersecretary or HKU? Thanks very much, Mr. Tang. Now for the contingency fee, if this is used, we will maintain close communication with the university. As to the learning center, I defer to the university. Mr. Sunny Young? Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much, Mr. Tang, for the question. The learning space is for use by the students and also the scholars. Now, for the public space, indeed, that would be made available to the members of the public. We do mount exhibitions or hold seminars on a regular basis. We welcome, in particular, secondary school students to take part. Where necessary, with good management, our own learning space can also be made available for public use. But we have two different functions that are separate. Thank you. Mr. Tang, any follow-up? Right, members. Please seize the time and come back to the conference room. After the remaining 4 members have spoken, I'll be putting the item to the vote. Please look at the clock. Ms. Aaron Bock, Chairman, basically I'm in support of this project. I've got 2 simple questions. Now you are redeveloping the site. How long is the period of the project? And para 11, I am concerned about the resident staff, 4.7 million or 2% of the project. That's the remuneration of RSS. But that's a bit on the low side. And in the enclosure, you only have some technical staff, resident on site. I think actually you probably would be monitoring this. Will the ASD be having a role? I get a feeling that ASD would just be a consultant in its role. Now for this kind of project, accidents are liable to happen, so I think we have to have a good enough oversight. Undersecretary, Chairman, about the time frame for the project is going to be about 5 years. As to the remuneration of RSS, HKU, Ms. Bella Fan, Assistant Director of Estates. Thanks very much. I wish to supplement on the time frame. By the time the Parkview Road project is completed and the Faculty of Business and Economics will be moving there, we will then start our work. And we set aside 6 months to 9 months' time. So at the beginning of 2029, this will be completed. As to the site staff, the funding is not enough. So internally, we are seeking funding for this. As to the resident site staff, we are following the recommendation of the ASD. There will be 3 full-time site staff monitoring the situation on site. If there is any shortfall, we'll be seeking funding internally. And if follow-up, Mr. Bok. So HKU will be responsible for the oversight. Okay, good. Thank you. Mr. Simon Lee. Chairman, thank you. First, I must declare that I am a member of the Council of HKU. I support this project because with the expansion of the campus, we are transforming the old building here, and financially and also everything else is reasonable. My question is about the risk associated with the renovation of old buildings. KK Leung is approaching 40 years in age. Now, from the structural assessment, there is a need for upgrading. We're turning this into a lab with specific design parameters, and that there will be specific requirements. First, structural safety assessment, the rebars, the concrete, and so on, and also the loading of the building will be increased, and also fire safety. And because of all of this, it would be far more complicated than if we start afresh. So our concern is that would 2 years be really too optimistic as a time frame? Now, how are you going to be having a system to monitor the risks? I defer to HKU. Mr. Sunny Young. Chairman, thank you. Thanks very much for the question. Regarding the state of the building, it's just like a body checkup. We do have the fire installation annual checkup in accordance with the ordinance. As regards the integrity, the structure of the building, again, we do conduct checks on a regular basis. We do have the consultant's report. Now, the labs here, we're talking about dry labs. And it doesn't really impose any additional loading on the building or the foundation of the building. So there will not be any additional burden on the structural integrity of the building. So it is going to be safe and sound. Mr. Lee? Chairman, the 2-year time frame for the implementation and also the dynamic risk management. Mr. Young. Chairman, regarding risk control, the whole time frame of implementation is put together out of consulting with the consultants. The relocation and the occupation permit and so on, and how we tie in with the Parkview Road project. We do have a very detailed arrangement there. We do hold regular meetings. We do have engineering meetings on a regular basis, having regard to safety, noise, and so on. All the internal staff and external staff do meet on a regular basis in keeping an eye on the situation. And if there are any issues, we will be dealing with them collectively. Members, there are 2 more members on the list. I'm going to be putting the item to the vote after Mr. or Dr. Junius Ho has spoken. So please come back for the voting process. Mr. Chong Pui Kwong. Chairman, thank you. I am concerned about the financials. This is costing us $194.1 million. The furniture fittings, $30 million. Now you have given us the explanation in the paper. Furniture, equipment. There is a footnote there. Does it include the facilities in the labs? Or are we talking about the computers, the desks and chairs, and so on? And for the other facilities, are you going to be seeking further funding from the FC? Now there is another item coming up regarding CUHK. I think they have more details there. And the furniture and equipment, they've made it very clear that the high efficiency equipment will be included, but the HKU paper is silent, or the paper on HKU is silent on this. Are you going to be seeking further funding for the lab facilities and so on? Second, contingencies, $17.6 billion. I'd like to find out more about it. Can you be more transparent? I think it's rather vague here. What sort of contingencies are we talking about? Would there be a situation where you're running short of money and you'll be having to use the contingencies to make up for the shortfall? Under Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Zhou. Chairman, regarding the furniture and equipment, that this basically covers general and special F&E. Now, the member mentioned the lab equipment and facilities and so on. They do not fall within this item. But as I said in response to other questions, for other facilities, indeed, the UGC does have funding on a regular basis to cover all these other facilities. As to the element of contingencies, at this point in time, as we indicated in the paper, all the other items in the paper do not have anything to do with that. It's only in the unforeseeable situation that we need to resort to these contingencies. We do not anticipate it's being used because there will not be any overspends anticipated. So we are confident that the project will proceed in accordance with the returned tender price. Where Mr. Zhou is concerned about the contingencies, if other projects do have the need for that, would there be any environment of this? The answer is no.
The last member to speak, Dr. Junius Ho. Chairman, according to Mr. Sunny Yang, the $190 million is barely sufficient. Now, in the next 3 years, a 10,000 meter square floor space will be transformed. So it's about $10,000 per square foot. Is not too expensive compared with the hotel project. This is just a renovation project. Site formation is not required. So my colleague asked a valid question. Why is it not the case that the HKU is footing the bill itself. According to the Undersecretary, the 2019 budget has made a reservation for upgrading projects in universities. However, the then fiscal position of the government was very different from the present situation. So if the need is so great, the HKU would use its own funding, use its own financial reserve to take forward the projects. Even the government is not supporting them. So the paper did not mention the amount of reserve held by the HKU. The HKU seems to be basing their design on the amount of funding from the government. I think it would cost much less to build a shared laboratory building in the Loop area by the 4 main universities. So we need to know the financial position of the 4 universities. We need to know how much they have in their accounts before they seek funding approval from us. Thank you. So some of Dr. Junior Ho's views are in relation to the policy matter of the project. So I think the PWSC should not go back to discussing whether the project is justified. Still, may I invite the Undersecretary to give a brief reply to Dr. Junior Ho's observations. Thank you. Now to clarify, Mr. Sunny Yeung mentioned that there is a lack of research spaces in the university, and there are data to support that. Now, the shortfall for the HKU in terms of research facility is 30%, and it is the government's obligation to make up for that shortfall to the university. The required floor space for research and education is calculated from an established formula involving the number of students and teaching staff. And last year, there was an arrangement to reimburse the universities to claw back the reserves of universities. So compared with previously, the level of fiscal reserves held in universities have decreased. We will ensure that the universities are using their financial reserves to continuously enhancing their competitiveness. And the HKU is also using its own financial resources to take forward some projects. For example, the Porkfield Road campus. The KKLM building is located at the center of the HKU campus. Creating a research lab in the middle of the campus is beneficial for collaborative projects in the future. The HKU has established a number of new faculties, including AI and emerging science. Now, these fields require spaces for collaborative research projects. So I believe that the transformation projects will help the HKU to do better in these regards. I don't think there is time for a second round for Dr. Junior's Hall, so please communicate with the administration after the meeting. 16 members have asked questions in relation to the project. The government has given his reply. I will now put the proposal to a vote. Those members who support the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-7, number 15, please raise your hands. Those against, please raise your hands. I think most members in the vote supported the proposal. The proposal is passed. On whether we should recommend further discussion by the Finance Committee on the proposal, I now put the matter to vote according to paragraph 41A of the rule of the PWSC. That this committee recommends further discussion of the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-7-15 by the Finance Committee. I remind members that if this question is passed, it means that the PWSC recommends further discussion of the paper by the FC. If the question is negative, that means that we do not recommend further discussion of the paper by the Finance Committee. Will those members who support the question please raise your hands? Those against the question, please raise your hands. I think that most members in the vote are against the question. The question is negative. The PWSC does not recommend further discussion of the paper PWSC 2026-7-15 by the FC. That concludes the discussion of this item. I thank the government officials and the representatives for attending the item. We will now invite the government officials for the next item to come in. Item 5, Project A24CL, Dredging, Management and Capping Works for the provision of sediment disposal facility in the southern waters of Hong Kong. Please refer to paper PWSC 2026-7, number 13. Members who would like to speak, you may now press the button. The paper invites members to upgrade parts of Project H24CL to Category A at an estimated cost of $684.2 million in money of the day prices. The government has consulted the panel on development on the 26th of May. Members support the administration to submit the funding proposal for the consideration of this subcommittee. The reports of the salient points of discussion of the panel has been sent to members via email on the 25th of June. These are the members who have pressed the button. There are 8. They are Mr. Chen Pui-leung, Deputy Chairman, Mr. Dennis Leung, Lam Chen-sing, Ms. Michelle Tang, Mr. Chris Ip, Chen Hock-fong, Ben Chen, and Mr. Jonathan Leung. Each member will have 4 minutes, questions and answers included. Mr. Chen Pui-leung. Thank you. There are 2 questions. Now, the existing sediment disposal facility at Sha Chao will reach its full capacity by 2028. So we need this project. The first mud pit will be commissioned in 2 years' time. The timetable is really tight. However, there are a lot of uncertainties in works projects. By 2028, the existing mud pit at Sha Chao will be at full capacity. If there are any delay to this project, delaying its commissioning, are there any contingency plans? Second, in the financial implications, $140 million will be spent on implementing the EM&A program. That is the excavation disposal, that is the environmental monitoring and assessment program and audit program. Now, in the second phase, there are 5 more mud pits to be built in the next 10 years' time. So, does the existing EM&A program's expenditure cover the program for the next 10 years? Mr. David Lam, the Secretary for Development. Thank you. We are confident that before the mud pit to the east of Sharjah reach full capacity, we can complete the mud pits. Now, in our capital works projects, we have been striving to reduce the creation of construction waste. We have been adopting dredgeless methods to conduct our works. So we are confident that the timetable can work. Concerning the environmental monitoring and audits program, we need to conduct regular monitoring of the level of suspended particles and also the dissolution rate of particles in the water to ensure that the mud pit is still working healthily. Now, 10 years on, we would monitor the recovery rates of the ecological biome on the capping of the mud pit. That will be a continuous process. Now, the 2 mud pits has a capacity of 4.2 million cubic meters. So each year, the demand is 400,000 cubic meters, so the 2 mud pits will last 10 years. By then, if there is still a need, we will apply for funding to construct the remaining mud pits. So the EM&A project expenditure, the M&A expenditure is solely for the existing mud pits. Mr. Dennis Leung. The service life of the new mud pit is just 10 years. Now, there are not a lot of suitable locations for containing the pollutants. Only the southern waters is suitable for that. So can we learn from the mainland? In the east of Huichao, silt would be put into the incinerator for generation of power. So can we adopt a similar method to compress the cost for handling mud generated from excavation? Under Secretary, now we are taking the project forward phase by phase. The entire plan involves 7 mud pits with a total capacity of 20 million cubic meters. So because of the reduced demand, we will take forward the construction of the first 2 mud pits first with 4.2 million cubic meters. We have already identified suitable sites to build mud pits for catering, for handling the silt created from works projects. We have been collaborating with research bodies to consider whether we can dispose of the mud on land, but that's not feasible. First of all, the mud has to be dehumidified. Unlike mud being treated by sewage treatment plants, there are lots of non-organic metallic components in the silt. So there is little alternative for disposing of these silt. Now, the most cost-effective and environmental friendly way to deal with it is to use mud pits.
Mr. Lam Chen Singh, Chairman. From the map, the place there can accommodate not just 2 mud pits, you can accommodate more, but for the time being you are getting 2, which will be good for 10 years. Now 10 years will come like go like this, and if we build the mud pits further down the line of the construction materials, the costs will be much higher. Or do you have any alternatives? Perhaps you can do more mud pits for the time being for better cost effectiveness, and that will be good enough for maybe 20 years. Would that achieve a better cost effectiveness? Second, $130 billion will be devoted to EM&A, which is no mean sum. Now, for these EM&A costs, are they costing us more, or are they costing us in a similar magnitude to other projects? Now, for the EM&A, in the course of monitoring, if there are certain readings that are exceeding the target, and remedial measures are necessitated, will the government or the contractor be picking up the tabs? What is that arrangement like if in the monitoring process there are elements that are detrimental to the environment, that is? Undersecretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Lam, for the question. Now, why 2 pits and not more? There are certain considerations. First, we'd like to limit the scope of the project, that would minimize the impact on the fisher folks and also the ecosystem. Now, we do not really want to cause too much nuisance there. Now, for these 2 pits proposed, they will be there for 10 years. Now, looking at the data for the past 3 years, the demand range from 100,000 to 300,000 cubic meters. And if we can minimize the demand, we may have it for more than 10 years. Now, we will be monitoring the situation as we go along, and that would be a more pragmatic way forward. Second, about the EM&A, I defer to my colleagues to see whether the number is comparing favorably. Our projects, the costs are comparing favorably with other projects. I think it is similar to that for the Sha Chao East, although I don't have the numbers here. Now, if the readings are too high, then we need to stop the work because that's according to the requirement. Ms. Michelle Tang, Chairman. Now, the government is seeking funding for the sediment disposal facility. I support that. Now, this is to cater for the sediments arising from maintenance dredging of harbour high fairways and desilting of drainage channels. And the existing facilities will be reaching full capacity by 2028. So there is an urgent need for that. The members of the public must be really concerned about the environmental issues. The government said that there will be mitigation measures and there will be monitoring. Will the administration tell us what sort of measures that there will be to assuage the concerns of the public? Second, has the government considered the experience of other jurisdictions and introduce the latest technology to recover, to recycle the resources? Undersecretary, right, for the measures. Now, with regard to these mud pits, we do have the silk curtains surrounding it so that the mud will not be floating all over the place. Each day we are talking about 1 or 2 vessels operating 1 or 2 hours, disposing the mud, that the currents are not particularly rapid there, so we require the vessels to turn off the engine, and this will be churning the water in the process of disposing of the sediments into the mud pits. So in the light of the Sha Chao experience, that mode of operation is causing really negligible impact on the environment. It is effective. We've also liaised with the universities and also mainland organizations to see whether we can convert these sediments into some sort of construction materials. But in terms of cost effectiveness, the marine method is far more desirable. Ms. Tang, no follow-up? No. Members, please note that in terms of time management, I'm going to draw a line at 10. The members who haven't quite decided whether to speak, please seize the time available. And there are 5 members on the list. If you wish to speak, please press the button to do so. Mr. Chris Yip. Chairman, thank you. I support the funding proposal because we really have to deal with the contaminated sediments. My question is very straightforward, and that is the sampling and testing. It is $120 million or thereabout. And with regard to sampling and testing, why is it so costly? Is it complicated? I'm no expert on this. How often do you actually conduct the sampling and testing? And how much does it cost to per exercise? Previously, do we have any similar experience for us to make a comparison? And the Secretary. Chairman, thank you. The department may wish to supplement. As we said, compared with Sha Chao East, the numbers are similar. Now, how do we monitor the situation? In terms of water quality, we have to collect the water samples 3 times a week to look at the dissolved oxygen, the floating sediments, and the turbidity. And during the 10-year period, and after capping the site, we do need to take the measurement on a monthly basis. Other than the elements that I mentioned, we also need to look at the sediments. And 4 times a year, we have the biological monitoring to ascertain the impact on the fisheries resources, and to also ascertain how the environment is being recovered. So it's not a question of taking one measurement over the 10-year horizon, or on a weekly basis. We do conduct the test and sampling. Now, for the comparative figures with Sha Chao, I defer to my colleagues. Mr. Edmund Chen, Head of Civil Engineering Office. Chairman. Each year, we are comparing with the Sha Chao East and the Brothers Island. Here, the cost is a little bit lower than before. We've done this for so many years, for 30 years indeed. And we do not need the repeated sampling, because we are confident that our measures will necessitate less sampling. But it doesn't mean that the frequency would be any less. Mr. Yip? I appreciate about the frequency. In terms of the complexity of the project, would be similar to other project. Yes, Mr. Chen. Yes, basically the same. Right, members. There are 4 members on the list. Unless there are further members who wish to speak, I'm going to put this to the vote immediately after the members have spoken. So please come back to the conference room for the voting process. Mr. Chen Haofeng, Chairman, I've got a couple of questions, if I may. It is a pretty busy fairway next to the West Lemma Channel. How can you make sure that in the course of disposing the sediments there will not be any conflicts with the vessels? Are you going to be indicating the operation in certain ways? Second, that this is an important fishing zone. How can you communicate with the fisher folks? Will there be any liaison groups that will be set up to communicate with the fisher folks to let them know about the entire operation and also for them to give you feedback about the operation? Under Secretary. Chairman, thanks very much. Mr. Chen. We have steered clear of the major fairway, at least 50 meters away from the fairways. That's enough of a buffer. That the vessels, we need to have a permit to dispose of the sediments, and there is also a pilot boat taking them to the site. The frequency is not high, maybe 1 or 2 vessels per day for half an hour. We have already had regard to the fairways. Second, in the course of designing the project, we are working in collaboration with the fisher folks. We do have the liaison group to maintain close liaison with the fishermen. No supplement? No? Mr. Ben Chen, Chairman. We're running a port. There is a need to dredge the harbour fairways to facilitate the passage of the vessels, and this is quite inevitable. But the question is, after the dredging, how do we deal with the sediments? We have the mud pits to put the sediments in. That's the most cost-effective way. Indeed, we did have a lot of concerns, and we do have a lot of concerns about these 2 questions here. The fishermen are concerned that when the dredging is taking place, will the water quality be affected, thus to the detriment of the livelihood? And how will the administration deal with that? That's question number 1. Second, about the sediments, we have the tea park, which can cater for 700,000 tons of mud. According to some reports, the utilization of the tea park is 450,000 tons per annum, so there is still a bit of spare capacity. According to the administration, the mud pits provide us with a capacity of 4 million cubic meters for 10 years. So it is working out to be something like 400,000 tons per year. That the tea park can offer 700,000, and the usage is 400,000 per year. If we can expand the tea park, I'm sure it will be able to cater for the demand. So can we somehow expand the capacity of the tea park to incinerate the sediments instead of creating the mud pits? And we can also turn waste into energy. And this is many birds with one stone. How can the administration assess the situation? Which way is the better way to go?
Under Secretary, there has been a similar question before. Thank you. First, on site selection, we have avoided the waters with more abundant fishery resources. So in terms of mitigation measures, we have gone beyond the requirement and have taken some preventive measures as well. Now the impact on fishermen would be minimal, and according to the existing mechanism, fishermen is entitled to compensation as well. Now concerning treating the silt dredged with sewage treatment plants, as I've explained, the silt is too humid for treatment by sewage treatment plants. And also, with the inorganic metallic nature of the silts, they cannot be treated with sewage treatment plant. Now the capacity is 4 million cubic meters, and the figure translated into tons will be different. Mr. Jonathan Leung and Mr. Hong Kam-in are still pending to speak. After the government has given a reply to Mr. Hong Kam-in's question, I will put the paper to a vote. Mr. Jonathan Leung. Thank you, Chairman. Paragraph 19 concerning fishermen. The paper says that there would be a temporary loss of fishing areas for fishermen. So I would like to confirm that if the site selected is indeed an area with less fishing activities. Now concerning the capping work, are there any contingency plans to ensure that in case of bad weather or typhoon or a ship capsizing, the work will not affect the marine environment? And has the government done its best to minimize the cost? Under Secretary, thank you. Indeed, in selecting the site, we have considered places with little fishery resources. We would like to minimize nuisance to fishermen by avoiding areas with rich fishery resources. Now, we believe that our mitigation measures can keep the nuisance to fishing activities to a minimum. And according to the established mechanism, there would be an ex gratia compensation for fishermen affected by marine projects. Now, concerning pollution, after depositing the silt, we would cap the top layer of the silt with clean sediment so as to minimize the pollution. So we believe that there would be minimal impact on the environment. There would be minimal environmental impact. Thirdly, the CDD and the EPD are working closely together to fulfill the monitoring requirements under statutory impact assessment work. So the two departments have been working very closely. And also, as I've mentioned, the price tag of the projects compared with other projects are comparable in terms of the monitoring cost and the construction cost. Next, Mr. Hong Kam-in. Thank you, Chairman. To ensure safety of marine traffic and fairways, we need to continuously conduct dredging operations, so I support the project. The only existing contaminated sediments disposal facility will reach the full capacity by 2028, so we need to build new ones. Now, paragraph 9 in the paper, the service year of the first mud pit will be 10 years. Now we have a layout specifying the positions of the mud pits. So can you explain to me the respective service years of the mud pits? And also the dredged silt is mainly comprised of metals. Now, so inevitably, depositing the silt on the seafloor would cause nuisance to fishing activities. So according to the established mechanism, there would be ex gratia compensation for the fishermen. And the amount of compensation is not included in the estimate. So where will the compensation come from? Under Secretary, there will be altogether 7 mud pits providing a capacity of 20 million cubic meters. So we would like to be practical. The first 2 mud pits can provide a capacity of 4 million cubic meters for the use of the next 10 years. So we believe that in the next 10 years, these mud pits will be sufficient for our use. Now, in depositing the silt, there will be mitigation measures. For example, the barge's engine would be turned off and the silt would be deposited slowly into the mud pits with little spilling. And afterwards, we will cap the top layer of the seafloor with a 3-meter thick layer of silt, of clean silt. And then we will continue to monitor the healthiness of the biome on the seafloor. Now, concerning ex gratia compensation for fishermen, we will follow the established mechanism, and the money will be paid for by the Capital Works Reserve Fund and the block votes. We will apply for funding where needed. Members, that concludes the Q&A session. I will now put the proposal to a vote. For those members who support the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-713, raise their hands. Those against the proposal, please raise their hands. I think most of the members in the vote support the proposal. The proposal is passed. On whether we should recommend the Finance Committee to further discuss the proposal, I will now put the following question to a vote according to paragraph 41A of the rules of the PWSC, that this subcommittee recommends further discussion of the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-713 by the Finance Committee. I remind members, if the question is passed, it means that the subcommittee recommends further discussion of the paper by the FC. If the question is negative, that means the subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of the paper by the FC. With those in favor of the question, please raise their hands. Those against the questions, please raise their hands. I think most members in the vote were against the question. The question is negative. The subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of paper PWSC 2026-713 by the FC. That concludes the discussion of this item. I thank government officials for attending the meeting. We now move on to the next agenda item. Please invite the relevant government official to come in. Item 6. 66EF, the Chinese University of Hong Kong Engineering Building at Central Campus. Please refer to paper PWSC 2026-714. Members who would like to speak, you may now press the Request to Speak button. The paper recommends upgrading 66EF to Category A at an estimated cost of $638.8 million in money of the day prices. The administration has consulted the panel on education on the proposal on the 5th of May. Members support the administration to submit the funding proposal for this subcommittee's consideration. The report of the salient points of the panel's discussion has been sent to members via email on the 25th of June. Before we proceed with the discussion, I declare interest. I'm the chairman of the Consultative Committee of the Automation Committee of the Chinese University. 9 members have pressed the button. They are Dr. Hui Simon Lee, Mr. Aaron Bok, Andrew Lam, Moon Kit, Dennis Leung, Ms. Christine Fong, Mr. Lam Chen Singh, Augustine Wong, and Hong Kam In. Each member will have 4 minutes, questions and answers included. Dr. Hui Simon Lee. Thank you, Chairman. Concerning the engineering building at Central Campus at the CUHK, I support the project. The site is ideal because there will be synergy with the original campus. So my question is, how will the building meet the flexible needs arising from the disciplines of AI and data science, since these disciplines are evolving rapidly? Now, there will be supporting facilities for 1,000 teachers and students, for example, shared learning space. So is that sufficient? Dr. Jeff C. Thank you. I will defer to the university. Which representative will reply? Mr. Lee Xingcheng, Director of Campus Development. We have adopted a flexible design for the engineering building. The majority of the facilities are for shared use, and there will be a large shared space. Now, since we need to accommodate for the developments of AI, we have reserved capacity to install additional air conditioning and chiller units for future needs. And we also have spare spaces in our plant rooms for upgrading to provide more power for AI research. Now, the engineering building is situated next to the 2 original engineering buildings. So this new building will accommodate for the use of 1,000 staff and students. So there will be shared facilities for use by students from the 2 other buildings. Mr. Aaron Bok. Thank you, Chairman. I support the funding proposal. I have 2 questions. First, paragraph 10, the breakdown of the expenditure. First, furniture and equipment, F&E, $125.5 million, 19% of the total amount, or 19%. So that's comparable with the first item, that is the University of Hong Kong project. However, this project involves building a new building block with site formation work. So it seems that the ratio of F&E is a bit on the high side. So what standard have you adopted in procuring the advanced equipment? So if you are rigidly following the European or the international standard, it would be very expensive. If you switch to procuring equipment under Guobiao or GB, that would be much cheaper. And also, the remuneration of on-site staff is less than 10%. It's mainly for hiring professionals. So will the CUHK conduct site supervision yourself to ensure the quality of the project and safety?
Under Secretary, or Mr. Lee from CUHK. Director Lee, Campus Development Director, CUHK. Chairman, this may be 100 million, but 25% is actually for the furniture and equipment for offices and IT, and 25% is for the workstation defense system of the lab. Now we have the biosafety cabinet system. We also have the high performance equipment for the future users, the professors, to use in experiments. That the CUHK adopts an open tender system, and the tenderers will include those from the mainland as well. Well, they include the mainland tenderers. Mr. Bock, so you include the Guobiao as well, Mr. Lee? Yes, for our equipment, the workstation of the lab in the mainland, the equipment really measures up to national and international standards, so we do adopt them as well. Mr. Lee, will you address the question regarding the RSS, the resident site staff? In the contract, we do have the technical staff that will be monitoring the quality of work, but internally, we also have our architects and the E&M engineers who will be monitoring the situation as well. And we do have an oversight team to make sure that the materials, the workmanship, will measure up to scratch. Mr. Bock? So you do have the expertise internally to monitor the situation to ensure quality. Yes, the answer is sufficiently clear. Right, members, there are 7 members on the list. We're supposed to end the meeting by 10:30. I will extend the meeting by 15 minutes. And please make it brief in your questioning, leaving more time for the administration and the CUHK to reply. Mr. Andrew Lam, Chairman, thank you. I'm looking at the costing here, $28,000 per square foot. I would say that this is really a nice number. There are 2 points I'd like to find out, if I may. In the paper, you said that you have a number of design plans. Will you tell us what have you done to keep the cost down for reference purposes? Second, from the layout plan, I don't see how unique it is for you to achieve this nice number. When you call for tender and when the tender returned, when was that? Now you've got the tender in $20,000 per square foot. Have you managed to achieve the median figure? I'm not sure how many tenderers there are. Do you have any median figure? Under Secretary, indeed, Chairman, the CUHK has explored various ways to minimize the cost. They adjust the construction method and also the building services. As to the median figure regarding the tender prices, I defer to the CUHK. Director Lee? Well, the tender was issued in February, and in April, the tenders came back, and together with the ASD, we did conduct some evaluation. Maybe because of the environment, the variation across the different tenders are not particularly high. And they are pretty similar and very competitive. There is no situation where the tender price here is particularly lower than that of the other contractors. So we are confident that the quality and the time frame can be managed. Any follow-up? No. Right, members. I can see that there are 6 members on the list. I propose that I'm going to draw a line at 10:25, and before that, members who wish to speak, please press the button as soon as possible so that we can apportion the time properly. Mr. Ng Win Kit, Chairman. I've got a question similar to that of Mr. Andrew Lam. The question has been addressed. Now, by comparison with other blocks, the pricing is not really high. That you have the biomedical science and AI in your design. Have you adopted any modular design and reserve sufficient space and power supply for further upgrading of the labs to cater for future demand? And you have all these advanced equipment. I am concerned about the future development. Will you be able to cater for the needs arising from future demands? Under Secretary, are you going to defer this to the COHK? Well, Chairman, like we said a moment ago, now for the lab configuration, we have the big space design, and we also have regard to the future development. For offices, it's 3 kPa. For labs, it's 5 kPa. We do have the no-frills design to accommodate 7 kPa to cater for the IT network, the servers, that will be up to 20 kPa. In order to cater for future developments, the plant room on the rooftop, in particular the water cooling system, we do reserve some space where we can increase the air conditioning system. So the same can be said about the power supply system. And the follow, Mr. Dennis Leung, Chairman. According to the paper, this will be for 3.5 years, and research work will not wait. So with regard to the research work, how are you going to deal with that? Will there be any seamless interface when the building is up and running? Now, the payment period will be up to 2033, 34. Why is it so long? And also on the site, you have some trees. There are 2 Aquilaria sinensis. Where would they be transplanted? How are you going to be conserving them? There are 3 trees that Peltophorum pellocarpum. One has to be transplanted. Now, of which one of them is not in good quality, but it is also proposed to be preserved. I'm sure that in the course of work, some trees will be affected. Are you going to be planting additional trees to improve the environment for conservation purposes. Under Secretary, thank you very much, Mr. Leung. Chairman, on the first question, I defer to the CUHK, and let me address the question about the conservation. As the member said, within the site there are 2 trees that are of concern, the Aquilaria sinensis. We will work in accordance with the 2017 requirement of the ASD and also all the protocol to make sure that we follow the relevant requirements. The contractor will have to state the conservation and preservation measures to make sure that the trees are sufficiently healthy before and after the transplant. And all these measures will have to measure up to the technical guidance. There will be special staff who will be monitoring the state of health of the trees. As to the other question, I defer to CUHK. All right, who can take the question? Please. Mr. Lee. Chairman, thank you. Right, the transitional arrangement with the support of the UGC, we are utilizing the existing vacant space to expand the laboratories, and where there is some space available, we will be utilizing them. Professor Tung Hongke, Dean of Faculty of Engineering. There are some research projects where we are hiring some space or some labs at the Science and Technology Park. We are really running sort of lab space in the campus. And we have some sites that we're using on a temporary basis, but we are very tight in availability of space. Under Secretary, about the payment, Chairman, upon completion, there will still be some follow-up work to be undertaken, and this arrangement is similar to other projects. Chairman, the Peltophorum, one of the Peltophorum trees is not in good condition. Why preserve it? Why keep it? Well, Chairman, there is an assessment conducted, and we are of the view that we should do more in the way of preservation, and there is a good chance that the tree can still grow. So hence the preservation. More information after the meeting? Yes. Chairman, right, there are 4 members on the list, and I put the item to the vote after Mr. Hong came in. So please seize the time and come back to the conference room for the voting process. Ms. Christine Fong, Chairman, I am alumnus of CUHK by way of declaration. I support this proposal of building an engineering building, para 13. The construction cost is $28,000 per square meters. That is really a no-frills design and fit-for-purpose design. The CUHK said that the tenders came back in April, and has the CUHK introduced the NEC, the new engineering contract, to minimize the costs. Second, we are developing R&D and biological science. Now, with this new research laboratory building, do we have any space to tie in with the Northern Metropolis University town? And also you have the photonic integrated circuits. Now this is really to do with the space exploration. Now I heard from the university that the loading is 7 kPa for the flooring. Would that be sufficient for the photonic development? I'm also concerned about the fire safety and the fiber optic. Would you elaborate further on this, please?
Under Secretary. Thank you, Chairman. We invite the university to reply to the 3 questions. Mr. Lee, concerning NEC, now the design was completed 2 to 3 years ago. Back then, the design team as well as our consultants had less knowledge on NEC. Today, we are all very familiar with the concept of NECs. So all new projects taken forward by the CUHK at present are under NEC. Now concerning aerospace technologies and aerospace research, artificial intelligence is crucial. So on the 5th floor of the engineer building, we have reserved space for an IT room. Now the loading is 20 kPa. There will be a lot of building services on that floor, including air conditioning. Now we are using Nowell 1230 grade fire extinguishers, which is not harmful to human bodies and can effectively put out fire. Mr. Lam Chen Sing. Mr. Aaron Bock mentioned that $125 million will be spent on furniture and equipment. Now, back in 2012, the HKUST only spent $60 million on furniture and equipment for the new building. So I wonder why the expenditure on F&E is so expensive. Is the CHK spending lavishly because the government is footing the bill? Can the university bear some of the cost itself? And with the development of I&T, there is an urgent need to build a new building. According to the manpower projection, there will be more I&T disciplines in universities, and there will be more non-local research staff in the disciplines. So the CHK's plot ratio is more lenient than other universities. So is there any room to maximize the use of space further? Under Secretary, thank you. Now, the furniture and equipment includes the furniture in the laboratory as well as information technology facilities. That also includes ventilation cabinets and like wave analysis devices as well as other computing devices. Now, F&E accounts for 18% of the total expenditure. That's of a comparable level with other similar projects. Now, on whether the university would bear part of the cost. Now, if additional equipment is to be procured, then the university will make use of the funding provided by the UGC to pay for those equipment. Concerning plot ratio, the plot ratio is already 3.174 for this project. That's comparable with other similar campus projects. Mr. Augustine Wong. Thank you. There will be an exhibition area in the building, but I don't see a representation on the floor plan. So I wonder how large the exhibition area would be. Now, the entire project will take 8 years' time. But actually, the project will take only 4 years to be built. So why is that the building will only be commissioned in 8 years' time? Mr. Lee, if you look at the floor plan, the lower ground floor, the yellow area, and there is a hollow out area. That would be the exhibition area for exhibitions targeting secondary and university students. So that's the yellow area on the lower first floor and the ground floor. The second question is in relation to the payment schedule that will take 8 years' time. Why is that so? Permanent Secretary, Mr. Lau. Thank you. Now, when the major portion of the project is completed, the building can be commissioned, but there's still remaining works to be completed. So usually the completion time would be later than the scheduled time. And after the completion of the project, we need to verify the expenditure with the contractors, and that will take some time. So our target is to complete the entire tender 3 years after the completion of the building. However, with NEC adopted, there's room for enhancing that timetable. So I'm pleased to hear that the CHK will adopt NEC for their future contracts. So I hope that the entire tender can be completed sooner. Any follow-up question? I think another 4 years after the completion of the project is unfair to the contractor and the employees, because that would delay the payment. That's not beneficial to the industry's health. I think the administration will consider your view. The last speaker, Mr. Hong came in. Now, I support the Chinese University of Hong Kong's efforts to enhance its R&D research capacity by building the new engineering building. The paper says that the project will take 3.5 years to complete. So that's the shell of the building. The commissioning itself is another question. When will the building be commissioned? Ms. Lam Chen Sing also asked a similar question. There will be 10 floors in the building. So if you ask me, I would like to have a couple more additional floors to further enhance the research capacity of the CHK. And also there will be 30 car parking spaces with EV charging facilities. I wonder how many existing charging facilities there are in the university. if there is already a shortage, maybe we can make use of this opportunity to add more charging facilities. Under Secretary, I thank the member for his support. I will defer to the CHK. Mr. Lee, thank you. Concerning the timetable, the project will take 3.5 years to complete. The first 1.5 years will be for site formation and power driving, and then half a year for the superstructure, and 1.5 years for superstructure. So altogether, 3.5 years. After the completion, we will install the high-performance equipment, and that will take 3 to 4 months. So altogether, the entire building will be ready for use in 4 years' time. Concerning the 37 charging posts, there are only 37 car parking spaces in the project, and so we will be equipping EV charging facilities for all of them. Some will be high-speed chargers, and we are optimizing the existing car parking spaces with EV charging facilities as well. Any follow-up question? None. Mr. Ben Chan would like to declare interest. I declare interest. I am a member of the CHK's board. Mr. Jonathan Leung, I also declare interest. I'm also a board member of the CHK. Mr. Dennis Leung, I'm a alumnus. Any more declaration of interest? If you are a member of the school board or the school management committee, please declare interest. Thank you. That concludes the Q&A session. I will now put the proposal to a vote. Members who support the proposal set out in paper PWSC 2026-714, please raise their hands. Members who are against the proposal, please raise your hands. I think most of the members in the vote support the proposal. The proposal is passed. On whether the Finance Committee should further discuss the item, I now put the following question to a vote according to paragraph 41A of the rules of the PWSC. That this subcommittee recommends further discussion of the proposal in paper PWSC 2026-714 by the Finance Committee. I remind members, if the question is passed, it means that this subcommittee recommends further discussion of the paper by the FC. If the question is negative, it means that the subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of the paper by the FC. With those in favor of the question, please raise their hands. Those against, please raise their hands. I think most members in the vote were against the question. The question is negative. The subcommittee does not recommend further discussion of the paper PWSC 2026-714 by the FC. The funding proposal passed in today's meeting is expected to be submitted to the FC for consideration in July or later. The meeting is adjourned. I thank government officials and the CHK representatives for attending the meeting.